Peter Charles here, Folk Fly Fly Fishing, and today we're going to do another pattern out of the compendium of Canadian fly patterns. It's called the Inconnue. It's from Quebec by Gilles Albert, and it's a fairly heavy green pattern, and I think you could probably use it for steelhead in the right water conditions. It's more of an Atlantic salmon fly. It's an interesting little pattern, so let's get started and look at the material. This calls for a low water salmon, and I'm going to use it in a size 4, but you could go smaller if you wanted. We're going to use some Vivus 8.0 white, and we'll talk about why as we go. And we'll finish the fly with some Vivus 8.0 black. The tag and the rib is medium gold, oval tinsel. Our butt is yellow floss. Our body is green chenille. The throat is blue saddle hackle. And the wing is gray squirrel dyed green. Okay, let's get started first with the white thread. And the reason why we start off with white is I want that yellow floss to remain yellow. If we put it over black, it gets muddy. But this pattern calls for black thread. So what I'm going to do is finish off with black thread. Alternately, you could use a black, magic marker and just color the white thread black if you wanted to. That works too. Okay, now we're going to put in our tag and rib. And I put enough space in there on the thread to also take care of the butt as well. That yellow butt. This tag is not big. Now we're just going to keep it underneath. Now we'll be able to use it for our body as well, for the rib on our body. Now I'm just going to tie in the yellow floss. And bring it back so it's right up against the tag, and then we bring this forward, and we can get our thread out of the way here and keep that. Keep the rib tight. Now we'll just come forward with our floss. There we go. You can see there's a bit of a bottle shape to the floss, but don't worry about that. Most of that's going to get covered up by the green chenille. I'm not going to leave all of that sticking out there. I'm just going to take off a little bit of the chenille for a tying in point. And I'm going to work that back to where I want the body to start. Now I'm just going to bend this out of the way. Now the pattern book shows the chenille body to be quite bulky, so that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to make 3 passes. Bring it just up on the return. Back. And you notice I haven't gone all the way back. The body has got a bit of a shape to it, almost like a cigar shape to it. So that's what we want to see. Now I'm just going to tie that off. Now for the rib. I put a turn at the back. Try to sweep a little bit of the chenille out of the way. When you have a body that has a bit of a taper to it, you have to sometimes adjust your ribs so you don't get an inconsistent spacing. There we go. Now I've closely spaced the rib, as you can see there. That's how it's shown in the book, so I've done it the same way. That's up to you if you want a widely spaced rib. I put it close. Now we're going to tie off the white, and we'll start with the black, and we'll tie in our throat and our wing. Now in the pattern book it's shown with a large head. I don't think I'm going to go with as large a head as they show, but it won't be small. Now for the throat. In the pattern book it shows the throat as being quite small, so I am not going to make a long or bulky throat. There we go, that's all we're going to need. Doesn't look like much, but as I say, that's all they show for a throat in the pattern book. It's just a subtle little throat. Now for the wing, and I've stacked it. Goes basically to the back of the gape. Bring my thread to the back. Pull up. Bind down firmly. Now, what you could do at this stage, if you've got some watery kind of cement, it's a good idea to put a little drop in there to keep the squirrel hair from pulling out. It is a slippery hair. I mean, you can bind down really tightly on it and it will help hold it. I mean, that's one advantage of this type of thread. I can really reef on it without worrying about breaking it. Normally with a 8/0 thread, it's you'd have to be careful being too robust, but you can really crank this down and it doesn't break. There we go. And finally a little bit of resin, UV resin, to finish it off. This is another spot. Now this is not the watery kind of resin. It's fairly thick, so it won't penetrate the hairs. But if you had the watery kind, you could put some on the hair of the wing and it will hold it in place. Okay, there's the Inconnue from Quebec by Gilles Albert. As I say, it's probably more of an Atlantic salmon pattern than a steelhead pattern, but you'll probably catch a steelhead on it, especially when they're fairly fresh from the ocean. If you're fishing the west coast, probably do well with green and with a bit of blue. Anyway, there it is, the Inconnue. Give it a try. Cheers.